What is up, freaks? Welcome back to this week's edition of Rabbit Hole Recap. It's your boy Marty Bent sitting down with Matt Odell. Just one-on-one for the first time in a few weeks. What's going on, dude?
I'm excited to be intimate with you today, Marty.
A lot to talk about this week.
Fucking exciting week.
Very exciting week. A lot of good, healthy conversations being had this week. So excited to expound upon those. First, before we hop into it, the price according to the Trade Block XPX Index is $7,797.42, and according to my node, which was launched using Pierre Rochard's node launcher, we're at block 577,436. I think we're officially within a year of the block halving.
Yeah, probably a little bit sooner.
Yeah,
because hash rate keeps going up.
Yeah,
and we're at 12,800 sats per dollar. Right
Bus. Again, the dime is not going as far as it used to. I've been checking the dime bag on tftc.io, and we're getting less satoshis per dime.
It's a shitcoin. What can I tell you?
Yeah. Hey, if you're willing to dump it into the dime bag, we'll take it. Before we jump into our topics, lots to talk about this week. As we already discussed, got to give a shout out to our sponsors. First, we got Unchained Capital. You freaks know all about them already. If you sign up for their Vault solution, which is a 2 or 3 multi-sig solution that's compatible with Trezor's ledgers, when it's not online, you guys are 100% cold storage. Unchained is there to be the the second of 2 keys if you're ever in a pinch and need them to sign for you. But you'll have 2 of the 3 keys in your possession at all times. Or you can even get unique with it, depending on what situation you're in. If you're a business, an individual, a family office, whatever it may be, you can get very creative with these multi-sig solutions. If you guys sign up now by going to www.unchained-capital.com/vaults, you're going to get 3 months free of Safe Dynamous's the Bitcoin Standard Research Bulletin. That's some quality information for free. So again, unchained-capital.com/vaults. Also, shout out to Cash App. You freaks all know all about them. They're helping us stack sats. And they're also the #1 finance app in the App Store for the last 2 years. First P2P payments app to offer Bitcoin selling to retail investors, or retailers, we'll say. They also have the Boost program. You freaks know all about it. I've been pimping out the Boost card for quite a while now. I honestly do use it every day. Saves me money. One of my favorites more recently is Whole Foods. Actually, they cut it from 10% to 5%, but I'll take the 5% Prime member as well. Compounding savings there. Download the Cash App and start stacking sats today. Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Matt, where the fuck should we start this week?
Hopefully we get sats back soon in the Cash App, too.
Sats back.
That'd be fucking dope.
Sats back at the store.
Yeah.
With the Boost, instead of getting a discount, sats back would be a very good.
And then you use your Boost card to buy something through Lolly.
Woo!
And you compound your sats back.
Yeah! It's so much stacking there. It moved a little bit.
I feel so bad for people's ears. That wasn't me. That was Marty. So
sorry.
Dude's
about
a little
that,
bit excited.
Very excited. Lots to talk about this week. Let's start with a little fun. We'll start with our weekly contributor, our listener contributor. We shout out to m.btc at m.bit, MDOTBIT. Bought a shout out this week and has a question for us, Matt. What single person would you like to see tweet, "I am already all in on Bitcoin. It is the future of money. Keep the fire pods coming." Shout out m.bit. Thanks for the contribution.
Of all, m.bit's awesome. We both met him. Fantastic dude.
Yeah, BitDev's regular.
Appreciate the contribution to the pod. I think every single podcast listener knows exactly what my answer is, and he has already got a big bag of Bitcoin, in my opinion, and his name is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. You think he's securing the bag of sats right now?
Yeah, I'd be so surprised. I'd be absolutely surprised if he doesn't have it.
What is the situation that entices Trump to tweet about Bitcoin? Like, what is it? Is it trade war sort of the impetus for this? He's like, fuck it, we're going to Bitcoin. Screw you. Or is it anti-Bitcoin? Is it positive Bitcoin? What do you think?
I mean,
I don't know why I just stood up there.
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine if he just sent a tweet out that just said Bitcoin. You know, he doesn't have to get into the weeds. But, I mean, there's plenty of ways that he could pump his bags if he wanted to pump his bags. And, you know, I don't think he would be against it. You know, he hasn't shown much, you know, moral restraint in any kind of way.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have a leash on him when it comes to tweeting things out.
Exactly. So I'm hoping for like that 3 a.m. toilet tweet. Maybe Bitcoin is the best money we have. You know, something like that.
Just like a toilet thought, tweets it out to the world. That would be awesome. For me, we discussed this before the podcast. I think Kanye. I would like to see Kanye. Big Kanye fan. I think we talked about it earlier this week. It's a good segue into another topic with Russell Okung. Who's shout out to Russell if you're listening to this. Thanks for listening to the pod. Apparently he's been listening to Tales from the Crypt as well as some other Bitcoin-focused podcasts. And yeah, so I think I really do think people like athletes and artists like Kanye really drive culture, whether you like it or not. That's sort of what drives our culture, what drives what people pay attention to.
They're role models.
Yeah. So I think if Kanye tweeted something, he's at sort of the pinnacle of pop culture and culture production. And it would have a very heavy effect.
What would a Kanye tweet look like?
Whew! I could see him hopping in on the stacking sats meme, dude.
Just pop in on a thread,
just
stacking
nonchalantly,
sats,
like
post a screenshot,
stacking sats, yeah.
$10,000 buy.
Yeah, if you're listening, join us. We're on Saturdays usually.
If Kanye's listening,
yeah.
Rumor is Kanye's a very diehard listener of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. Still waiting on the invitation to Sunday service, but he would not be. He's talked about Bitcoin before pretty openly.
He has, yeah.
On with Charlemagne, I believe.
He's another one that he probably owns a bunch of Bitcoin.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he just hasn't shilled it yet.
Yeah, and again, the production of culture starts with these idols, if you will. Again, whether you like it or not, and I think it would be good for them to get people into Bitcoin, into self-sovereignty, into sound money.
I imagine a lot of these people, a lot of the more higher profile Americans specifically got in a big way over this last bear cycle. So they're still sitting in a position where like they might not want to admit it because they might be wrong, but they'll be more likely to admit it when the adrenaline's going and it's like $15,000 and we're like approaching the next all-time high and they just feel like a genius. Because let's be honest, when the price goes up, we all feel like fucking geniuses.
Yeah, wasn't Katy Perry fucking painting her nails?
That was the top. That was the top. She had all the altcoins. She had like Monero and Litecoin and shit.
She had like paid ads on her Instagram and shit like that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So that's when they come out of the woodwork, right? They gather their bags now and they...
Yeah. No, so let's segue this into the NFL versus NBA topic. That was a tight poll we had there on Twitter, which Players Association will own more Bitcoin by 2025. The NFL won out 51 to 49%.
I couldn't believe it was so close. For the longest time, it was just 50-50.
There was over 2,500 votes too. So, pretty good sample set.
And you didn't put a show me the answers though.
I don't like that.
I like show me the answers.
It's a binary option.
You realize how little conviction people have when you put the show me the answers, because even something as like just like pick one, simple as that, I bet you like 35%, 40% of people would have clicked show me the answers.
Yeah. But then just add some complicated math, and as we all know, I'm not the best at math, especially on the go.
I sent a poll out once. I was like, do you use a Windows computer? And it was yes, no, show me the answers. It was like 35% show me the answers. Like, guys, that just say, you know, there's no...
Yeah, exactly. That's why you only give two options. But
go back and forth.
But this leads into the conversation of which league do you think will... You said NBA.
Well, I said NBA. I was, kind of also trying to egg on Russell because I knew he was watching. I don't know. It's a toss-up. I mean, we have the owner of the Warriors is like a major proponent of Bitcoin.
Yeah, Chamath Palihapitiya, I believe. Big proponent of Bitcoin. He actually... I like his term Bitcoin as an insurance policy against the idiocy of central banking. That's one of his sound bites that I really like. And yeah, there's been rumors for years. Rumors, can't confirm them. Just coming through the grapevine that some leagues have paid players on the side with Bitcoin and stuff like that to entice them to come play for them.
I mean, I could see athletes in general being more likely to end up with a lot of Bitcoin when this all
Young,
settles
rich.
out.
It's a perfect demo.
They like the risk appetite is higher.
Yeah.
They have a lot of disposable income.
Matt Barkley came out. He said he was mining. He's been mining cryptocurrencies. Russell Okung actually, obviously.
Hope it's not cloud mining.
Matt, if you're listening. Matt, Mr. Barkley. Make sure you're like my age. Matt, do not cloud mine. Make sure you got like S9 set up or some shit.
Please, sir, no cloud mine.
For your own sake. No, so this is a growing trend. Again, like Bitcoin, we talk about adoption a lot and like what's going to drive adoption. We talk a lot about the mechanics of that and more about infrastructure, on-ramps and stuff like that. But adoption of Bitcoin as an idea in people's mind, I think athletes talking about it more openly and stuff like that is very good for just, again, the virus spreading.
It was pretty fun watching Russell go down the rabbit hole live on Twitter.
Right.
You know? And have there been any known baseball players who have come out?
The MLBs, they had that ERC20 like baseball card.
Oh
thing.
yeah, a CryptoKitty card, just basically.
Yeah.
Right?
MLB's always been cheesy.
Yeah, but the individual players make a ton of money, and their careers are long.
Careers are longer. They make the most money. I'm pretty sure. I would not be surprised if there's MLB players that own Bitcoin.
I know, like A-Rod is like a Buffett man, so like maybe he's just walking around telling people it's like baby brains trading or something.
Yeah, and he co-hosts a podcast with Big Cat, and I think Big Cat definitely has positive connotations of Bitcoin at a certain price level.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everyone has a price.
Yeah, everybody does have a price.
Anyway, that's super exciting, right?
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
No, yeah. The more again, not just the idea spreading and people being more aware, and again breaking down the taboo of talking about Bitcoin. People just throw it to the wayside, like that Ponzi scheme, whatever. If you have again people's idols talking about it in a positive light and exploratory in a sort of open-minded way, it'll hopefully change people to think differently as well.
Just orange pilling one person at a time.
Exactly. Speaking about one person at a time, what's going on with our LN node? We're trying to onboard people at the Lightning Network one person at a time. It was a cheesy segue. I went for it. I'm sorry.
So we have the stacking Sats node. It is currently being operated by a undisclosed thief who's a fan of the pod. We are now running it through Tor.
I don't like his dirty tactics, but I like that he's a fan of the pod.
Oh, he's definitely a freak. He is still reciprocating channels, so if you open a channel with him, he will open one back of equal amount. Over 2 million sats, please, just because it reduces the future fee burden. The larger your channel is, the less percentage that on-chain fee is to open and close.
This is good planning for the future.
Yeah, I think I was talking about on Twitter, like an interesting stat to watch is going to be the capacity and the number of channels on Tor-only nodes versus ClearNet nodes. Right now, the network is mostly dominated by ClearNet nodes. Part of that reason is because the network is dominated by LN big nodes, which are all running on ClearNet. But as it seems like most of the node providers are going towards the Tor as a default, which is good. Really, that's where we want to go. Like every single end user should be running their Lightning node through Tor, so you're not broadcasting your IP. Ideally, we're a podcast. Our node was public information. Look what happened to it. But like that's why, if you're a company or something, then your node's public information. But if you're an end user, you shouldn't be connecting your node to your real life identity. Run it through Tor, and then in the future, if people talk about like, oh, do Wasabi fees, stuff like that, do they get untenable as transaction fees increase? And the beauty of Lightning is if you fund your own Lightning Tor node with a Wasabi output, you greatly reduce the need to remix again, because it's like going into like a black box of sorts.
Yeah, no, and this as more and more nodes start running through Tor, which it seems like you said, is going to become sort of standard out of the box. We've talked about it in the past. Pierre's node launcher is going to be, if not already, will be Tor native in the future.
It's not already.
Yeah.
It's in progress.
Yeah.
That's like probably the biggest hurdle. Right now, Casa defaults to Tor. Nodal defaults to Tor. That's what we're running it through. This idea that like Tor isn't capable of
what
running.
the robber's running it through.
Right. That's the robber's running, or the thief is running our formerly our Tor node, and the idea that Tor isn't capable of handling this traffic is being proven wrong by our node, which is the 46th largest node on the network, high uptime. Everyone, if you know, it's a little bit more difficult to run a Tor relay node, but if you can figure out how to do it, you should do that as well. And you know, just so that we can keep that bandwidth up. The one issue we do see with these Tor nodes is the channels. Like if you have an existing channel with the stacking sats node, and you're still running through ClearNet, it will show as sporadically offline, like the channel's offline, even though the node is still online. And that problem is because it's routing through an exit node to get to you, a Tor exit node. And Tor exit nodes are legally difficult to run because like anyone who's using Tor is like broadcasting through you to the ClearNet. So like if they look at like child porn or something, is like is the usual example. Then it looks like it comes from your IP. So we don't have as many of those as we'd like to have. But that issue solves itself once we're all running through Tor, because then it never has to go through an exit node. So I understand if it could be annoying, but keep in mind that if you wait and once you finally do upgrade your node to go through Tor, all those channels will still be there and they'll work better than ever. So unless you like absolutely need the money now, like it'd be better if you don't close those channels and you just wait and they'll just get upgraded over.
Yeah, no, I think like you sort of touched on there, this highlights the need to, if you're technically competent enough and willing and able to run Tor nodes, relay nodes, because we will be leeching off this network and we should probably contribute back to it. No, these are hurdles to overcome, and again, do you think, having watched the thief manage these channels via Tor and stuff like that, do you think this is scalable? You think your average
Tor?
Yeah, like running everything through Tor, and so first like running a full node, then running a lightning node, then running it through Tor. It seems pretty arduous. Obviously, it's coming out of the box for a lot of people. Do you?
I mean, on the Nodal, it's literally just 2 extra clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And for the end user, they don't see really any degradation in performance, except if they're trying to connect to a ClearNet node.
So it's being abstracted.
And the thing is, the ClearNet routing nodes, a lot of them dual broadcast and dual listen. So they have an Onion address and a ClearNet address. So you have no issue connecting to those routing nodes. The issue is the ones that are solely ClearNet. They don't just do they don't do Tor as well.
Yeah. No, this is actually a very good precursor to the next subject, which is the seizure of bestmixer.io earlier this week by Dutch authorities. This was a centralized mixing service, and it was seized by Dutch authorities, and brought up the question of privacy in Bitcoin and the nature of mixing services versus coin joins, and the narrative around this. A couple publications came out, and we're conflating coin joins with decentralized mixing services, and it's important to sort of de-alienate between the two. Mixing service is a centralized, basically arbiter who's taking people's UTXOs and switching them out. And
they're receiving Bitcoin and sending different Bitcoin back to you.
Exactly. And coin joins are a specific Bitcoin transaction designed a certain way. Non-custodial, that people interact with freely, and it's just you're able to do it just as the nature of the Bitcoin protocol. There's no changes to it.
Yeah, in Wasabi's case, there's a centralized server that is coordinating everything. But they never have access to your funds, and they don't know who the individual participants are, as opposed to the biggest issue with these centralized mixers is they're actually theoretically the most effective way of mixing because there is literally zero link.
Trace. Yeah.
With a coin join, the link is still there, but there's 100 other links, so you don't know which path is the one it goes down. But with a centralized mixer, it actually just splits it up. And there's been a lot of them in the past. And Best Mixer I actually wasn't aware of.
What a great name for a mixer. Just going straight to the point advertising there.
The big one I knew back in the day was BitMixer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also, it looked like there was never a formal announcement that they got shut down, but they like closed down like out of nowhere, like really quickly, right before BTCE went down. I remember I interviewed that guy, and they were like mixing back in the day. I interviewed him, and they were mixing like a ton of Bitcoin. And so the way this works is they had like a website, and Best Mixer operated the same way. They had a website, you could access it through Tor or ClearNet, and you would send them Bitcoin. They'd put it in their pool of Bitcoin, and they'd send you different Bitcoin, and they'd give you options like, should we send it in different segments, different timing amounts? They could send it at a delay. We'll send it, 6 hours later, we'll send the next payment, so you can't conflate the amounts. So for someone who really wants privacy, these centralized mixers are a nice tool in the arsenal. You could use them like in combination with something like Wasabi, but you couldn't ever rely on one alone because the actual mixer could be a honeypot. They have logs of every single transaction. They could connect all your addresses. That was the major negative, and it's easier to go after them. And they're more, I think from a legal standpoint, because they're custodial, it makes them more liable because they're literally, and a ClearNet custodian at that, they see the Bitcoin come in, they might have an IP address for you, they know what address you sent it from, and then they're actively sending you different Bitcoin. There's more of a money transmitting happening there.
Yeah. Shout out Stop and Decrypt, who pointed out that if you're going to run one of these mixing services, you should probably launch it anonymously and run it through a .onion URL, run it through Tor. If you're gonna be engaging in these types of services.
That's what BitMixer did. That's why BitMixer just like shut down out of nowhere instead of seeing it in the news.
Did they? Are you sure?
Yeah. Did Best Mixer? They were actually running it as a company in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yeah. With BitMixer, they were anonymous.
Oh,
No one ever
I got
knew.
Best Mixer. I thought I got BitMixer mixed up with Best Mixer.
Yeah, they were like a little bit cocky. Also, all the articles said that they were actively advertising to criminals. Like, that's absolutely bullshit. They were not doing that. If you run a privacy service, like, you can't pick and choose.
No, and this highlights the topic conversation that Laurent brought up. Yes, these privacy enabling technologies are going to be used by bad people, and you do not throw the baby out with the bathwater by just not letting anybody have privacy and making all this stuff illegal because some people are doing bad things and using privacy technology as well. So we've expounded upon this many times before on the podcast on RHR. In particular, is like we just need better police work, like good old-fashioned detective police work, like
cash.
Yeah, and it's like we say a lot, like another theme of like the bent in this podcast as well is like complacency kills. Like if you're just gonna get complacent and like again throw the baby out with the bathwater in the name of protecting people, like that's bullshit. Like
I think people have to have some self-respect. Like big privacy isn't illegal, and using Bitcoin privately does not make you a criminal.
It's as we head into Memorial Day weekend.
Exactly.
Remembering the people who fought for America in particular, a country founded on the principle of freedom, of free thought, of free speech, of free commerce. Like, we cannot allow these freedoms, these human rights to be decayed, and they will be if we do not stand up for them. So, like, that's what worried me about, like, the Bitcoin magazine piece.
And the block.
The block
did the
piece.
same
They've
thing.
both since retracted and fixed, but conflating this stuff with like criminal activity and making it look bad. Like
we got those edits done.
We did get those edits done, but we have to push the narrative. Like, and shout out to Niraj at Coin Center who they posted a blog a couple
this
hours
morning. Yeah,
this morning.
I donated right after they posted it.
We'll put it in the link in the description, obviously. But non-custodial cryptocurrency mixer developers are not subject to U.S. regulation, and Thank
It's like
God.
what we said. There's a major difference there between a custodial service who's actually handling your money versus a non-custodian.
Yes, and again, going back to like this is possible via the nature of the Bitcoin protocol, which at the end of the day is beauty. I'm like the article is just speech because it's lines of code, and it's good to see in the land of the free as we head into Memorial Day weekend here that it is as of right now still protected, but that again complacency kills. We should be loud about this topic.
Yeah. So Coin Center is telling us that wasabi is legal. So mix all your fucking coins right now, and then if they try and say it's illegal in the future, then we'll we didn't know.
We're at 4.
There's no reason not to mix if you're American.
I would imagine we're higher than 4%, which was in the news like a couple weeks ago. Kyle Torpy at longhash.com, shout out Kyle. But 4% of Bitcoin transactions were involved in some sort of coin join a few weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised if that's higher now, but we need to pump those stats.
It's going to get even higher because Bull Bitcoin, the Canadian Bitcoin brokerage,
shout out
run
Francis
by
and team.
Francis.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
They just made live Wasabi. They're going to run all of their user deposits through Wasabi.
Yes. So shout out, and again,
massive liquidity boost from like a legitimate source. Like it's really important that people that like get freshly KYC'd coins, like you get coins from Cash App and stuff, and you want to mix those because you want to break that KYC link, so you have a reason to do it. But it also helps the whole pool because those are seen by law enforcement as like the most legitimate of Bitcoin. So as those enter the mixing pool, it makes the whole thing that much more legitimate in their eyes.
Again. We're gonna harp on it. We're gonna pound narratives into your head. Privacy matters and privacy loves company. Like the bigger companies, just doing this automatically is huge. Just for mixing, for liquidity, for everything.
So which service is next?
It's a good question. I don't want to put pressure on anybody.
This is exactly the time.
Okay.
When Bitcoiners need to polish their pitchforks.
BitMEX has been has a lot of Bitcoin trading on their platform.
They would be ideal candidate.
They would be ideal. Deribit as well. Any of these, what I would call.
I think Kraken would be a good fit because Jesse just likes saying "fuck you" to the man a lot.
Yeah, Kraken as well. But I think like Bitfinex obviously is a tenuous subject right now. But Bitfinex, like all these,
they don't really help give us legitimacy.
No, but I think the companies most well positioned to do this are the ones who have sort of been cavalier in BitMEX and
absolutely
and these other companies.
But like Bull Bitcoin gives us, I feel like it also gives us like a lot of legitimacy. Like Kraken would be a really nice one. BitRefill would be a really nice one.
Shout out to TFTC alum Eric Spano who started My Bills, which is part of the Bull Bitcoin umbrella now.
That's badass. I listened to that one. That was a good episode.
Eric, we need to catch up if you're listening.
There's one more thing about Wasabi. I obviously that's the main way we've been suggesting people to coin join their coins. So a lot of people's question is, especially those Bitcoin Magazine and the Block articles, they kind of alluded to maybe Wasabi would be at risk. As we said earlier, the way they've designed the whole system is designed to reduce their legal footprint. They don't know who's using it. They don't have custody of your funds. The other thing is I don't know if you remember, but like a couple weeks ago, like people were giving them shit on Twitter because their terms of service is like you can't do anything illegal on it. It's like super strict and like anti-cypherpunk. And like people are getting really angry at them. Like that's why they need the terms of service. Like they have to say that to protect themselves. So like give them a fucking break. And then the last thing is like if this doesn't, like if they do decide to shut down Wasabi, like someone can fork it and run it from a different jurisdiction, or they can even run it anonymously. So that would obviously suck for the Wasabi team, and we love those guys, but there is options on the table there, and that's what makes it, kind of like whack-a-mole. It's just hard to enforce.
I think Adam and team are pretty aware of these possibilities that exist.
Yeah, that's why that terms of service exists.
No, I mean, again, you have to fight for these privacy enabling tools, and shout out to the Adam Fiskers of the world putting their necks on the line, fucking building this shit.
Yeah, and remember when you pay that tiny negligible Wasabi fee to them, like it includes all that fucking fear, because that's scary as hell.
Right?
Yeah. So respect. Tons of respect.
Tons of respect. Shout out to anybody working on CoinJoin Tech.
Also donate to Coin Center.
Yes.
Through Lightning.
Boss. Speaking about Lightning, shout out to the man, to the beast, to the legend who helped us build TFTC.io, DJ Seeds, a mensch of a 22-year-old. He made our site Bitcoin compatible with BTC Pay server. He customized it. He created some cool
custom BTC Pay server is so cool.
Yeah, he really put the team on his back, and he also just relaunched LNCast as a completely decentralized tool. So LNcast.com.
It's not completely decentralized.
No, I think because we're receiving our payments for our podcast through our BTC Pay server.
Yeah, it's non-custodial.
Yes, it's non-custodial.
Non-custodial.
There we go.
Well, because that was kind of altcoiny.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
why
sorry.
I said it.
I'm sorry.
100% trustless.
Yes, I'm
that's
sorry.
ridiculous. There's
thank
no
you.
absolutes.
Thank you for the correction.
Very dope, though. It's a very
yes.
dope site.
So yeah, LNcast.com. You can go pay 10 cents if you want to contribute to Tales from the Crypt by listening through your browser and paying 10 cents first. You can do that at LNcast.com. Shout out DJ. Again, kid's a beast.
It's an experimental podcast paywall with Lightning. So you can listen to any episode of the supported podcast. I think we're the only one up there right now, right?
I think so, yeah.
And to unlock each episode, you pay us 10 cents through Lightning, and it instantly unlocks in your browser, which is just kind of cool experimentation going on.
Yeah, again, that's when I went to work. That's how I found DJ originally, because this was a completely custodial service at one point, and that's why I reached out to him and was like, I love what you did with this. You want to come help me build this site? And he did, but that's things like the dime bag, little micro content.
I think it's so cool.
All right. You were saying yesterday when we met up, was it yesterday? A couple days ago.
Yeah,
right?
with Arbadao.
Yeah. Arbed out.
Is that how you're supposed to say it?
Arbed out, yeah.
Arbed
out of a trade.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not Arbadao?
No, it's arbed out.
Oh, wow. Fuck, man. Great guy.
Incredible
Love
guy.
that dude. Yeah, I was saying there's something about the Lightning UX flow, and especially with these smaller payments, that really just makes me feel compelled to spend Bitcoin in a way that I've never felt in the past.
Yeah, you said you've sent more Bitcoin transactions in the last 6 months than you did in the first half decade of your Bitcoin.
Yeah, but
experience.
most of those are Wasabi coin joins and Lightning channel opens. But still,
Good usage.
those are two things that weren't here 8 months ago, 10 months ago.
Good usage. Speaking about good things that weren't here 10 months ago, pretty positive spin on Bitcoin in the mainstream media. This week, 60 Minutes, Anderson Cooper interviewed Neha from the MIT Bitcoin Club, or the MIT. I'm sorry, this is not coming to mind.
Is it the institute? Is it called
the
Institute
MIT
or something?
Yeah, the Blockchain Institute at MIT, whatever it is.
MIT Bitcoin thing.
Charlie Shrem, Bitcoin's first convict, and Laszlo, Bitcoin's first transaction. And actually, let's give a shout out to Laszlo. People know him as the pizza guy. Pizza Day was yesterday. That's why we met up with Arbed Out to celebrate Pizza Day, talk about Bitcoin. But a lot of people don't know Laszlo is responsible for the first Mac OS implementation of Bitcoin.
And he was the first GPU miner.
Yeah. It's so
Dude,
he talk about somebody who's down for the cause.
Also, a lot of people don't know that 10,000 Bitcoin transaction had a 1 Bitcoin fee.
Really?
That's pretty crazy.
Damn.
It was like 0.99 Bitcoin. 99 million Satoshi fee.
And that's the other thing we were saying yesterday. Everybody talks about Laszlo sending the Bitcoin. Nobody talks about the guy that got to 10,000 Bitcoin.
Great trade. Dude made a fantastic trade. So you didn't watch the full 60 minutes? Right?
I watched 5 2-minute clips, so I feel like I got most of the segment.
Well, you missed 3 minutes. I think it was like a 13 and a half or something. I don't know. It was I was such a hater before it aired. I did a preemptive, it's going to be shitty tweet. And I'm the first to admit that was I think that was the best mainstream coverage. We couldn't have asked for better mainstream coverage.
Yeah. A lot of people were giving Neha shit for not jumping into the fact that money isn't a hallucination, isn't a collective hallucination. It can be money is a tool, and a value will accrue to the best tool that is money, and people think Bitcoin is that. people were giving her shit for that, but like think about like trying to jump into that on 60 Minutes. Where
She
you have,
did
like,
fine.
She did great. Shout out to Neha. It was a great representation of Bitcoin. Like I watched her, mainly her interview part, and no, I think again, good positive spin again. Like going back to talking about athletes and rappers talking about Bitcoin and it seeping into the culture. We talk a lot about adoption via on-ramps and stuff like that. We got to talk about adoption of it just like being in people's minds, and the 60-minute shit definitely helps.
I don't even think...
If people even still watch 60 Minutes.
I don't think they... I think their ratings are pretty high. I don't think they mentioned drugs once in the whole episode.
No, they didn't. They didn't. That was
That's amazing.
Right?
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, it was. I thought it was really good press. I'm trying to look up the MIT Bitcoin. I don't even know. Whatever. Everyone knows what it is except for us. MIT Digital Currency Initiative. Found it. Apologies.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. MIT Bitcoin Expo is one of my favorite conferences to stream every year. Very technical. Moving more into geopolitical stuff, Elizabeth Warren is running for president here in the United States, is looking to tax $8 trillion that's hidden around the world in offshore funds and other savings vehicles. Just highlighting the value prop of Bitcoin.
Seems like there could be some kind of demand for a global censorship-resistant money.
They're going to come after it, people. I mean, that's like... Actually, there's a book here on my bookshelf that I've been meaning to read about the Panama Papers. So that was a big thing about the Panama Papers. It basically brought to light that this amount of money was being...
$8 trillion.
$8 trillion.
That's a lot of trillions.
That's like almost like half the U.S. GDP per year, right? Almost, like a little less.
Wait till they realize that Bitcoin is way better than, the rare art they hold.
Well, that's the thing. Like, going back to the Panama Papers, I'm surprised more hasn't come out after that, but they basically...
You're surprised that the richest people in the world weren't able to shut up all of this?
No, but now we have Elizabeth Warren, like, screaming, like, we're going to come tax that shit, and the Panama Papers prove that they have the information to go after these people. So that's the point I'm trying to drive home. And, again, highlights the value prop of Bitcoin. That could be a lot of inflow. Do you think that whole $8 trillion could move into Bitcoin, or do you think they would diversify?
I'll take it. Who knows? We could just use a couple of it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I think that there's like, especially as Bitcoin matures, there'll be like no reason to hold. Like, it would be the best thing to hold. Why would you're gonna hold the majority of your wealth in it?
Yeah.
Why would you do otherwise? If it's gonna be highly liquid, relatively stable, but like constantly like going up in purchasing power, basically. And so why would you ever hold anything else? You can just move out of Bitcoin whenever you need to.
Yeah. No, it is. It drives like the thought experiments in my mind. Like, what happens when these, like, say, like Elizabeth Warren gets elected, or somebody like her, Bernie Sanders and AOC in the future, and they're hard on about getting the taxes from those offshore funds, and people, those rich, are diving into Bitcoin. And the ire turns from that those offshore vehicles to Bitcoin. Like, is that the point at which the political realm wakes up to the fact that there's nothing they can do about Bitcoin? Is the sovereign individual thesis of, as soon as there's a digital currency that lives on the World Wide Web, the powers to tax individuals will become more ephemeral?
Well, I think they'll move more to like a consumption tax and like an income
VAT tax or something like that.
But you can still do, or like property tax. You could do like property tax. You can have the employer take out some money just like they're doing today, and the employers have property relocations. You know where they are, so they have to do that. And then you do a consumption tax, and you can do like a property tax.
Consumption tax makes more sense to me, but again,
it's regressive.
You have the regressive argument, and there's got to be a way to make it work at some point, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to have to. There'll be no other option. That's what they're going to have to do. And actually, in a lot of ways, Bitcoin can make it easier because you can just set up the software in such a way that it every transaction when you buy something, the merchant is auto forwarding to the tax agency.
It's pretty fucked.
Yeah. But it will, it'll make wealth taxes and stuff like that harder to enforce.
Yeah. No, that's another. We got a helicopter flying above us right now. That's another conversation we had yesterday too. Is that there'll be two different economies that develop, and you'll have a dichotomy between the fiat world and the Bitcoin world. That should come to be in the future.
Would you think it's there'll be two economies?
Yeah, I mean, you see.
Why would there be?
I mean, there always are in places where there are multiple currencies being used.
You don't think Bitcoin will be legitimized? It's not already becoming legitimized?
I mean, it's being legitimized, but again, it's not going to be. I don't know if it'll be ever be completely legitimized by.
I'm saying something like cash crosses both those economies, right? Cash is both in the black market and the white market. You go to Starbucks, if you're a drug dealer and you sell someone some drugs, then you get that $20 bills they paid you. You can go to Starbucks and spend it there, and
that's true.
It's the simplest cross ever.
Yeah.
So if Bitcoin is successful, you should be able to do that in my mind.
No, I think you will be able to, but I do believe there will be laggards who refuse to adopt Bitcoin for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah. Certain countries will get isolated.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
I think not only – this is, first of all, why it's important that we, prioritize keeping Bitcoin as efficient as possible and as distributed as possible and as, as hardened from, any kind of, state act or attack or stuff like that. But it's also important that by the time they realize the threat – a lot of the corrupt politicians and stuff will have bags of their own. So they will be incentivized to not do anything. I've said a lot of times, regardless of politics, Trump was the best thing that could have happened to Bitcoin because Hillary was she would have been, she was born to regulate the shit out of Bitcoin. So as we have politicians holding these funds, they're going to be incentivized to pump it. And who knows, maybe even national treasuries and stuff will be holding this, will be secretly building Bitcoin bags as well. Wouldn't
be surprised if some are already. We know Bulgaria is sitting on 200,000 Bitcoin.
No, that's where it's unconfirmed rumor.
What?
Remember they said they got it. A news story came out that they said they got it, and then immediately after they said, I
thought I saw
we don't have it.
I thought I saw a story recently that
really
mentioning that
it was from the seizure, right? They seized from
I think it was
Darknet Market,
Darknet Market or BTCE involved with that. I think they might have caught the BTCE guy.
I mean, either way, if they have it, they should deny it, right?
I would.
That'd be pretty crazy,
Yeah. We don't know. The U.S. has seized Bitcoins and sold them. Tim Draper got a lot of those.
Do you think Bulgaria was it Bulgaria or Belarus? It was Bulgaria?
Pretty sure it's Bulgaria.
Do you think Bulgarian government officials listen to the podcast?
I hope so.
Not your keys, not your coins, guys. Make sure
Yeah. Don't hold this on some custodial service.
Yeah.
And don't trade. Hey. you politicians, you Bulgarian politicians, if you don't know how to trade, if you've never traded, I know it seems enticing. Don't do it. You're going to get wrecked. It's Uncle Marty's advice for the day.
There you go. Oh, that's an interesting thing that I wanted to touch on. Over the last 2 weeks or so, we're officially at the point where if you bought the same amount of money, if you did the most simple stacking sats strategy where you just bought $20 a week or whatever every week, at any point, if you started at any point, you would be in profit right now.
Damn.
A month ago, we hit the point where if you bought the exact top, but the thing was, if you bought a couple weeks before the top, you still weren't in profit. But if you bought the exact top, you were in profit. Now it's literally any single time. If you did that, you'd be in profit right now. That's pretty crazy.
Right. That's what makes me is it how can it be this easy? It feels like it's too easy, this recovery.
Yeah, I better go do like 100x of max or whatever. Stacking sats is too easy.
Nah, yeah.
Oh, you mean this recovery?
Yeah.
It could be just like a head fake or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but if you do this, if you're dollar cost averaging with like money you're willing to lose, then you can edge out this volatility. I'm more bullish than I've ever been, but I'm always bullish. So
Me as well. But going back to the Bulgarian politicians who should be self-custodying, that was also in the news this week with SIM swaps. There was a couple of high-profile Bitcoiners working at, there's one particular person working.
The big one was BitGo.
Yeah, one of the lead devs at BitGo got SIM swapped, lost $100,000 of Bitcoin that he was holding on Coinbase. So a BitGo engineer.
What the fuck, man?
Holding
the fuck?
his money on Coinbase with SMS 2FA, it seemed.
No, it was. It was. Maybe it was. Yeah, it was SMS, but it was also the guy owned his email. He recovered his Gmail account through the SIM swapped phone number. So on Gmail, you can turn off. First, there's like a million different ways this guy could have stopped from getting robbed. Even on like the simplest, if he had put in like Coinbase's vault thing, he would have been fine.
That's speaking about the fact that you have a BitGo engineer storing it on Coinbase in an insecure way, and BitGo's a custodial service itself.
Yeah, then they have multisig. BitGo has multisig. What the fuck? What's going on here? Why do you have $100,000 in a Coinbase hot wallet? Like I said, not even the vault. They have like the vault supposedly where you can like time release and stuff like that. He didn't even have it there. He had it just in like the normal hot wallet. And his Gmail had SMS based recovery. His main email address. Your main email address. I mean, ideally you shouldn't have a main email address. You should have many email addresses. But let's be honest. Most of us have one main email address. That email address is your most secure possession on the internet because once someone owns that, they can I forgot my password into every single thing you have, right? So you need to make sure that your phone number is not anywhere near that email address. It can't be used as two-factor. You should be using an app-based two-factor, and it cannot make sure it's not there for like I forgot my password. So like go into the website that you use.
Go to the security. The thing that sucks about Google though is they like entice you to put your phone in, and they
you have to
encourage
go back. You have to go back afterwards and delete your phone number.
Yes, they will. You have to do it at first
to sign up.
Yes, and then you'll have to go back and delete it, and they'll tell you like, "Are you sure you want to do this? You should probably keep this there. Don't listen to them. It's fucking stupid."
Because in their defense,
they have backup codes that you should write down.
Right, they give you back. It's the same thing as what people say, like people are too dumb to remember their seed or something, write down their seed and recover it. If you don't have the phone number and you lose those backup codes and you forget your password, like you're never getting back in that account again. But what's nice is Google, because they've, Google, they're tracking everything, but because they've been the target of a lot of Chinese government stuff because for Chinese dissidents, they give you like a lot of features there. There's account deletion. There's a free version of the dead man switch that I have at Final Message. Like if your Google account is unactivated for like 6 months, they can either delete it, they can give access to someone else, or they can send a message to someone else for you and delete it or give them access. Like obviously don't put anything in there unless you encrypt it first. But yeah, so if you delete your phone number, this attack never happens. And the best way to test a service for this vulnerability is you go in through incognito, you go in through private browsing, and you literally try to get into your account through the I forgot my password button. That's what they're doing. They're going through the I forgot my password. And if you can recover it with just your phone on you, like you're fucked. You got to fix that.
Right. Yeah, no, and it's, again, what the fuck, man? You work at BitGo, working on their engineering team, like, that's better practices there. If you're looking at, I don't want to shit on an individual. I feel bad.
If you had a Ledger or a Trezor or a Cold Card, whatever, just the most basic hardware. If you had, like, I don't know. Like this is even more sloppy than having $100,000 on like Blockstream Green Wallet on your phone.
Yeah, and again, it highlights like this is probably the most effective way to quote unquote steal people's Bitcoin. Like you're not. Like the most attacks are going to be phishing attacks, SIM swap attacks, like attacks where you're not physically harmed.
Should we explain what a SIM swap is?
Yeah, so SIM swap is if somebody goes into, they find out your cell phone provider, they find out your self-identifying information, they go into a local, say, whatever, we'll use Verizon as an example, they go into your, actually AT&T.
I think they usually call up. They just call up.
And call up if they know your password, and
they just say they want to activate a new phone. I'm going to activate a new. Imagine if you called up your cell phone provider and you said to them, "I lost my phone. I got a new phone. I want to activate it with my number." And then they pretend they're you, so they like either they get some of your security questions or something like that.
Yeah, they know your PIN information.
And they social engineer their way into getting your phone number.
There's even some of the attackers do have to go to physical locations because for some cell phone providers, basically dictate that you show photo ID in person to do this stuff. And some people have gone as far as to make fake IDs with the names to SIM swap.
But that's good. If cell phone providers did that, it'd be better.
Well, that's been the problem is people have tried to put these security checks in place. And they just haven't followed through, and the cell phone companies are really falling on their fucking faces and not addressing this huge security vector. And that's another thing we talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin creates the incentive to highlight these security vectors, and this is a huge one. So if you, again, like we've said for the last 5 minutes, if you have your phone number tied to anything and they're able to SIM swap you, they can fuck your life, basically.
Yeah. Use app-based two-factor and make sure that SMS isn't activated on any of your accounts. Like I said, test it out through I forgot my password.
And
the most important is your main email.
If you're holding $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, up your security game. You should not be holding it in a hot wallet.
Well, no, but he could. Who knows? He might have $10 million worth of Bitcoin, right? And he could have it in the most elaborate cold storage. And it was like 100,000, like, I want to play around with Coinbase shitcoins was on Coinbase, and that's what got stolen. So if that was the case, then, like, a little bit, then that's way less, right? Like, that was his high-risk wallet. But still, he should have known better.
Hey, Sean, sorry we were too harsh there.
Well, he even says in it, he feels really bad. I mean, he definitely learned his lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, I'm glad he wrote it up, but I'm just disappointed.
I am as well. Better practices.
And then it looks like Selkis got SIM swapped for his third time because he tweeted out to Coinbase to shut down his account, which, like, your security model should not rely on publicly tweeting out to your Bitcoin brokerage.
I saw their head of engineering got back to him right away. Like, email us,
DM
please.
me ASAP.
Yeah. Again, be aware. SIM swapping. Be aware. SIM swapping is a thing.
Burners help too. If you get a burner phone, burner email addresses, you use different email addresses for different servers. This is what we go back to earlier when I was like, your main email account is your most important because I forgot my password everywhere. Well, if you have different email addresses registered through VPNs and stuff, then they can't do that.
Diversify your risk, freaks. Diversify your risk, especially as we head further into the information age. This stuff's only going to get more elaborate. It's going to get more fierce. Be aware. Last subject. The IEO is hot in the street, bro. What do we think about it? Kraken didn't do an IEO. They're doing an equity offering. $1,000 minimum to the public, $4 billion valuation. Being run by Bank of the Future.
There's like no token or anything. It's just like you log into a website and you have a share, right?
Yeah, it's pure equity. I'm pretty sure.
But it's like the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the big difference is the Leo token is more like a BNB type thing where you pay fees and stuff in it.
Yeah, so the Leo token, for you freaks who are unaware, is the token of Bitfinex that Bitfinex has launched.
They raised $1 billion.
They raised $1 billion. A lot of it.
$4 billion valuation, I think.
Yeah, it didn't even reach the public, did it? Did it ever reach the public?
Well, now it's publicly traded, but
yes.
The pre-sale was all insiders, which is I don't know, like Bitcoin is a better investment than either of these or BNB. You're just adding risk on top of your investment.
Yeah, it's crazy how this is the hot chick on the block right now. The IEOs are pumping. They've been pumping like crazy the last couple of weeks. I don't like to talk about it.
It's because of BNB.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. So then the IEOs is like the evolution of the ICO.
Yeah, it's just new makeup on the pig. It's literally an ICO just facilitated by exchanges like Binance.
Yeah, the initial distribution is slightly different. And I think so Binance, like your position in the IEO, like CZ just keeps adding like these random schemes to pump the price. And so like your position in the IEO is determined by like how much BNB you hold.
And just a word to the wise, Unchained Capital is bullish on this stuff, so just be aware.
After it all blows up, they're going to say they were short on it, FYI.
This is true.
Just a heads up.
And then Circle, which is under the Goldman Sachs family, I believe now, or at least Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs has like a minority investment.
Yeah, they own.
So yes, they're part of the family.
Yeah, they own. They acquired Polaniax about a year and a half ago, maybe even sooner than that. Not sure. Whatever. They had Polaniax. They just had to lay off 30 employees, or 10% of their headcount.
And they delisted nine tokens from Polo for U.S. users.
For U.S. users only?
Yeah, because they're afraid they're securities, which is interesting because it's the exact opposite of what Coinbase is doing right now.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to another ongoing topic here at TFTC is when you're not focused and you pivot from idea to idea. Circle is a great example of that. Jeremy Allaire famously came out a few years ago and said that Bitcoin was going to fail and became anti-Bitcoin. Since it's come back into the Bitcoin fray. But again, if you don't have any focus or long-term vision and are sort of going with the wind per se, I don't think it's a good long-term strategy. And you hate to see people get laid off, but it's sort of predictable when you don't have any focus.
You know, the whole benefit of Poloniex was that it was a bucket shop. So like when like a Goldman Sachs backed company buys it, like that defeats the whole purpose. That's why we see with like Binance right now. You can trade altcoins with limited KYC. Now they're going to start springing KYC on people because they're too big. They're a target. They have to legitimize. So then you have another one pop up, and that'll be like the premier place to do altcoins. Same thing happened to Bittrex, right? Like we just see it all over and over again.
That's crazy how like Polaniax and Bittrex, they were the hot chicks on the block 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and they're zombie.
Even at the beginning of the 2017 run, they were like the place to be.
Yeah. Didn't Bittrex do an IEO too?
Bittrex has been doing some sketchy ass shit.
They did the Veriblock IEO.
Yeah, they've been doing some sketchy ass shit.
They have that. They have like an ex-Department of Defense attorney on their staff. I'm pretty sure on their board.
It's important to participate in regulatory capture in this industry, if you're in America at least. I mean, it's short-sighted. They're all screwed. It's just going to move overseas, most of it.
Yeah.
Except for the on-ramps. That's why it's smart what Square's doing, because they're just focusing on like the lowest regulatory burden, just be like the best on-ramp they could be. And like if you want to like play in the casino and stuff, like you do that without them knowing.
Yeah, and if their quarter-on-quarter revenue growth is any sign, it's a good strategy up to this point. Disclaimer: Cash App is a sponsor of TFTC.
Yeah, a sponsor and a highly used product.
Yeah. We got anything to riff on?
One of the things that was interesting about that, we're going to link to that Elizabeth Warren article. Bloomberg did a whole thing on it. And it's like, she has this like, this economist, like he's going to be like her chief economist if she gets elected. And he does all this analysis, like, he uses Panama Papers and stuff to figure out. He's the one who came up with the what I say 8 trillion.
8 trill.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he was saying that the top 1% controls 40% of the wealth, I think, or something like that. The top 0.1% controls 22% of the wealth.
Holy shit!
So like all this bullshit about like Bitcoin not being fair. Like, at least they can't break the rules and put it in their own advantage and increase their share of that wealth unfairly to you. Like, Bitcoin is way more fair than, like, the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, that distribution was attained via the Cantillon effect, some would argue.
Yeah, here was Ronald Reagan, the top 0.1% controlled 7% of the nation's wealth. So what was that, like the mid-'80s?
Mm-hmm.
and now it's 22%.
That's crazy. And just I would look at the growth of that concentration and overlay the growth of the monetary base over that same period.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They cheated and just increased their part of the pie.
So remember why we're in this. Free speech money, sound money, private money. We're in it for freedom, freaks. As we head into this Memorial Day weekend, think about freedom.
Cheers.
Peace and love.